Welcome back to 22 Minutes in Lending. I'm your host, Vince Passione, and we're back for part two of our conversation with Becky Reed, COO of BankSocial. In part one, we explored the collaborative power of credit unions and the evolution of the CUSO model. In part two, we're diving deeper into the future of lending and payments. Let's dive into the episode. So let's talk about a practical example because I always talk to my staff about this. So obviously, LendKey, we service loans, right? We're dealing with millions of dollars of money movement every single evening. And think about what we're doing, right? We're moving money between members and the credit unions. So is the entry point that it's fiat currency, and now I need to then turn around and turn it into stable coins so they can ride those rails? Or is it even the loans themselves have to be converted into stablecoin? So is there this conversion that happens and then we ride the rails and everyone's happy? Or does it have to be set up as these are digital contracts? When I listen to people like Mike Cagney talk about Figure, right? And he uses hash, right? That's their currency, that's their token. Help me understand that practical example, Becky.
I want to talk about the future of lending end to end and how you can utilize distributed ledger technology, including stablecoin and including smart contracts. Okay.
Great.
So let's talk about a member who wants to buy a car. And then I can even take it, bundling it up into a loan participation. So let's do origination first. So a member wants to buy a car. They come in, they do an online loan application, which can all be on chain using their digital identity. We go in, we underwrite that. We can actually stamp that, hash that on chain as well, that loan decision. And now they agree to the terms they're going to do the loan, right? So now we write a smart contract and we bundle the stable coin into that smart contract. Now that smart contract goes to the digital wallet of the dealership, and the dealership gets their money right away instead of waiting for a wire and doing all this title muckety muck. The smart contract actually does all the title work, does everything, sets up the automatic payments from the member's digital wallet. I mean, the whole thing. The smart contract handles all of the management and automates all of those processes behind the scenes. If the member is ever in default, now they've broken the contract. And now there are things that are already written in code about the contract that start happening. So it can even initiate a repossession, for example. So it can automate, reaching out to the member. It can automate putting a hold on their account. I mean, there's all these things can be done, remember, with programmable money. So the dealership, they're taken care of, right? The smart contract gave them the money. They put the lien on the title. The title got issued digitally. All of that stuff happened in seconds, and then it manages itself moving forward. So now that loan is on the books at the credit union, and let's say that they want to bundle that auto loan up with $10 million of other auto loans that look very similar. And now they're going to put that out on a marketplace. Well, right now, in order for it to make economic sense, most credit unions, in order to purchase the loan participation, doesn't make a lot of economic sense because of all the due diligence that has to take place. They have to look at all the loans, they have to look at all the underwriting, they have to look at all the paperwork, was everything signed, yada, 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 yada. And they have to prove that they did that every single time. $1 million doesn't make a lot of sense to buy out of a $10 million. I probably want to buy $5 million. I probably even want to buy all 10, right, at the same time. Now,
Right.
that freezes small credit unions out of the market. A small credit union, a $25 million credit union, or even a $100 million credit union, I don't need $10 million in loans. I maybe don't even need 5. I might need 1, but it doesn't make economic sense for me to do that because of all the work involved and all the paperwork, and it's just a pain. So now we tokenize that $10 million portfolio, and now let's say each token is worth $100. Okay. Each token has all that due diligence wrapped into it.
Right.
So now a $10 million credit union can buy $500,000 worth, or $1 million or whatever. And so now that $10 million portfolio can be farmed out to 100 different credit unions. And now if I decide that I don't want to hold it anymore, I need liquidity, now I have a secondary market by which to sell it. That's something that's not possible today either.
See, we solved that problem by getting them to agree to the common underwriting, common pricing, so they can buy these loans in real time, and that's how we solved the problem for the small credit unions. But you are absolutely spot on that tokenizing it would make this so much simpler, and
Way.
placing DeFi would really work. It really does work here. Perfect, because that's what it's heading. I wanted to understand the ecosystem and make sure that our listeners understand the ecosystem as well. So for someone like Lenkey, we could partner with someone like BankSocial. We
Yep.
would then turn around, you'd be our on-ramp. We would
Yep.
benefit from speed, right? And
Yep.
accessibility. And then later on, as we think about the edges of the network, right? And we start looking at things like digital contracts and using
Yep.
immutability. And there's a famous quote, I think it was Mike Cagney said, "Oh, all we're doing at Figure," and I think that's true of Bank Social, right? And you'll tell me if I'm wrong, is we're just replacing trust with truth. And the people who supply trust to the network take rent out, right? Because whether you're doing a securitization, right, they don't call them custodians for nothing. Um, is that true when I think about Bank Social's role as well as you think about what it can do for the credit unions in its current state and future state?
So when we talk about trust and truth, that it has a lot to do with the transparency of transactions that happen on chain, because you can see the transactions. If you have the wallet addresses and
Hmm.
the transaction hash, you can go back and you can see those transactions. Remember, I talked about those transactions are recorded in a block the blockchain example. So transactions are recorded. And if you have the transaction hash, then you can go and you can look at that transaction. If you have the wallet address or the account number of where the transaction occurred, then you can go in and you can see all the transactions that have happened in that wallet. So that does replace truth with trust. And because of the decentralized nature of the network, the nodes that are consenting to record that transaction have to all agree, and they are decentralized. They're not all owned by one central authority, which is quite different than a core database, for example, at a credit union that is owned by the credit union, one particular entity, or a social network like X that is owned by one particular entity. And so when you have a decentralized network, it's more difficult to put erroneous information out there or nefarious information out there or untrue information out there because of the decentralized nature of the network. Now, I'm going to address custodianship here in a minute, because custodianship is I'm going to call it a legacy or an antiquated mechanism of how transactions have happened on chain. People have bought cryptocurrency in a custodial environment. Coinbase is an example. They hold the digital asset on your behalf. So whenever you buy it, they're holding it for you, but you don't really own it. So the decentralized finance world, or the DeFi world, believes in self-custody. So that gets back to why credit unions should be DAOs and own your own money and financial inclusion and all of that. And so BankSocial, what makes us a little bit different from a digital asset exchange perspective is that we are non-custodial. So what that means is we have a inventory of digital assets that we sell to our customers. And so when you come in or your member comes in and buys a digital asset from the BankSocial exchange, it's transferred to their wallet and they own it and they can do whatever they want with it after that. We have nothing, we're not holding it on anyone's behalf. So the
Right.
risk there is if BankSocial goes away tomorrow, which we won't, but if we did, then you would own your digital assets. That would not be the case with a Coinbase, for example.
Got it. So talk about some of the other players. So we've had the CEO from Bloom Credit on, Christian Wilhelm. We had the CEO from Nova Credit on. These are data furnishers in the world of credit, right? And that's the world I live in. And you had mentioned this in one of your other podcasts, right? Look, lending is about moving money around. It's all about moving money. So what happens in the world if if the adoption of stablecoin were to happen, and let's dispel disbelief, it all happens. Now, credit unions are all using it, right? They all become DAOs, right? It all sounds great. What happens to players like data furnishers, like a Bloom, like a Nova?
Well, I think that a lot of things that we think about in our space will just transition to doing it maybe in a different way. But I still think that underwriting is important. And you have to have some way to evaluate risk, right? Regardless of if it is a business that you're lending money to, and lending doesn't go away, right? But it might change a little bit. So for example, in the DAO example, let's say that back old school, remember when there were credit committees at the credit union, right? So the credit committee would review.
I think they're still there. Wait a
Some
minute.
some are still out there. So let's say their rule is all real estate loans have to go to a credit committee,
Right.
right? Well, now you think about if it's a DAO and now the credit committee is looking at these loans and now they can vote with their token on whether to make the loan or not. Well, it's not too far of a leap to say that the members themselves, right? It's the members' money that's being lent out. So now the members themselves can vote on a particular loan with their tokens to approve or deny. And the token holders, the members, might want to understand the risk they're taking. How is this person paid back other loans? What is see, there's other kinds of data I think that is important now as well. I might maybe, if they give me permission, want to kind of see their social media accounts. Are they
Mhm.
driving around showing everybody their Lamborghini that they got yesterday, but they're telling me that their job is a postal worker and they've been there for 2 years? How are they affording a Lamborghini? I mean, there's things like that. I think that these data furnishers can assist us in providing that goes well beyond just a credit check or a credit score. I know that there are additional data that is coming into the capabilities of underwriting. For example, rent. How do they pay their rent? How do they pay their utilities? Maybe that social aspect of it is, would somebody vouch for me? Remember when we would put references on the
Right.
loan application? So all of those things I think are still necessary. It's just we're doing them in a different way. And all those data furnitures, they can be digitally native too.
So innovation, I was at a leverage conference in Florida, and there's been a lot of discussion about the impact of the current structure of credit union board members and the boards themselves. Do they limit terms? Um, how do the credit union CEOs and the executive teams interact with their boards? And I've presented to some of them, right? Some of them are, I presented to the board of Merck Credit Union, right? These are senior executives at Merck. These folks are in the environment every day, cryptocurrency, stablecoin, all things you just discussed, Becky, right? They're living it in their own business today. Then there are other credit unions that are much more traditional, where those credit union board members, they've been board members for life. Um, and they're not currently, some of them are retired. They're not engaged with some of the technology, whether it's AI, whether it's stablecoin. How do you get around that challenge? Because I'm skeptical, right? I mean, like you, I'm a technologist at heart. You sound like you're a technologist at heart. You want to see this technology move forward because it is so important and vital for the movement. But how do you get past that?
Well, I, like yourself, am out talking to boards all the time, and I actually get this question quite often, not from the board members themselves, but from people who are wondering, how in the heck do you explain blockchain to a board member? And first of all, I would ask you, do any of your board members, regardless of their age or their tenure on the board, can any of them describe how an ACH works today?
Yeah,
No,
probably not.
no, they can't. And most of your staff probably can't, right? So to try to come at a board from, I'm going to explain to you about how this works so that you'll see the benefit, is the wrong way to go about it. Every board on the face of this planet, I promise you, understands how payments impact the credit union. They all do. They understand that we move money. They get that. And so when you talk about a stablecoin as just a new payment rail, just like Visa and MasterCard, then they go, oh, okay, well, I understand that. And then you talk about making it easy to use. Here's how you will use it. You're going to tap to pay, just like you use your Apple Pay right now.
Right.
I mean, what do
Right.
you care that's a stable coin on the other end? It doesn't matter to you. Do you really care if
Mhm.
your money moves on the Visa rails or the point of sale MasterCard rail? No, you don't care. All you care is that you're able to pay for the groceries that you're trying to buy, or you're able to pay your friend back for the pizza that they bought last night. So it is not a hurdle to go in and talk to boards about these things. All of them understand about modernization. All of them understand that
Right.
technology, they use it every single day. I promise you that many board members are streaming TV and not using cable anymore.
One would
So
hope.
yeah, so if they can do that, they can understand this.
Yeah. So we're it's amazing how quickly the year's gone by, right? Credit unions are now anticipating their strategic planning cycle. So
Mhm.
I know your answer is going to be, should they put crypto on the agenda? Absolutely. I'm sure you would say that. But how should they approach it in the planning session? What are the
Yeah.
questions they should be asking themselves? How do they really get this down into some scenario that's actually executable?
Yeah, I think that education is important. So understand it and, bring somebody in to educate them if they haven't already, or, ask them not to pitch my book, but you read my book, or, go online and, look up blockchain or whatever. Those things I think are important to educate yourself. But from a strategic planning perspective, I think that it is really important to look at adopting new payment rails, and not just blockchain rails, but also RTP and FedNow rails, right? So there's this whole evolution that's kind of happening, a pre blockchain adoption and stablecoin, but the ISO 2022 or 2022 standardization that has happened in payments, and I think all payments will be moving in that direction. I don't believe that all forms of payments right now, which by the way are clunky, they're
Hmm.
expensive, they're siloed, they don't talk to each other, and they're rife with fraud. All of those things are happening today. Now, stablecoin and DLT rails and even FedNow and RTP help solve some of those things. So payments have got to be on your radar. 100% have to be on the radar. The reason cryptocurrency should be on the radar is because your members, in order to use stablecoin, just like that on ramp I was talking to you about before and the off ramp, you have to be connected to DLT rails in order for your members to use cryptocurrency or stablecoin at all. If you're not, they
Right.
can't use those mechanisms. It's kind of like your member may want to use FedNow, but they can't if you're not connected to those rails. So you have to be connected to DLT rails. And I highly recommend that on your strategic plan in the next 12 months, you need to get connected and make sure you're working with a third party service provider. I don't expect any credit to go out there and build this themselves. When you're connecting with a third party service provider, please make sure that the solution is not just buy, sell, hold. It has to be send and receive too. And there
Hmm.
have to be fraud,
Sure.
risk mitigation, and fraud tools that are available with that, because it is another payment rail. So if you're seeing fraud on ACH, you're going to see fraud on the crypto rail too, unless you have the tools to combat that.
So how do you handle the credit union that says, and the credit union executive says, there's a wild, wild west. Fiserv has just announced their stable coin. FIS will probably follow suit. All the cores will do it. MasterCard, Visa. There's going to be a whole bunch of these, and then eventually there's going to be some consolidation.
Yep.
So why don't I just wait?
Well, you can wait if you want to be where you are now, beholden to some big behemoth fintech, and you pay what they tell you to pay, and
Got it.
it works the way they tell you it works. And so I would prefer to move forward in a way that works better for my financial institution,
Right.
where I can maybe call the shots and decide how much I want to pay and what the functionality is, and not wait for all of those. But you are right. There is, and it's going to make a lot of noise in the space. There's going to be an explosion of all these stablecoin providers.
Exactly.
And that's okay, because there's a thing called interoperability. And again, This happens in the crypto world all the time. People swap one digital asset for another. And that's going to be happening behind the scenes. So JP Morgan is going to have a stablecoin, Fiserv is going to have a stablecoin. And if your member gets a Fiserv stablecoin, then it's going to turn into a whatever a credit union stablecoin is, and then the credit union is going to be able to accept it. So don't worry about all of that, but there is going to be a lot of noise. But waiting and just seeing how things shake out, it will be too late. It will be too late.
Good answer. All right, last thing, we'll have some fun. Looking ahead, so you get to play time machine. I know the way you're going to answer this. It's 2030. So what does the credit union system look like? I think you covered some of it already, but
well, this is a little bit of a dream of mine because I would like to reinvigorate the grassroots movement of credit unions and combine that with the grassroots movement of the decentralized finance movement to create a financial renaissance of financial cooperatives. And so in 2030, I would hope that there are at least 1,000 brand new credit unions that are DAOs that are serving a very specific niche digitally native community, for example, like gamers, right? There's a field of membership. They have a common bond. They all really enjoy playing Roblox, for example, and they're using cryptocurrency and stablecoin to interact amongst themselves to buy things. And they're using AI assistants to help them manage their finance, all on chain.
awesome. All right. Two more fun questions, maybe just one more. All right. So you do this all the time, right? You've been interviewed all the time. What's the best question that you've ever been asked? And please, it doesn't have to be any of the ones that I just asked you. So let's exclude those. What was the best question you were ever asked in one of these podcasts?
I think that the best question somebody ever asked me was what I would say to my 25-year-old self now.
Ah, you want to give me that answer? What is that?
I think that I would tell my 25-year-old self that I don't have to do everything alone. That there's people out there that are willing to help, and I should accept their help.
Yeah, that's very good advice. Very good advice. Well, Becky, we're going to leave it there. This was pretty awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe to 22 Minutes in Lending for some more thought leadership and real world stories at the heart of lending innovation. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Becky, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the 22 Minutes in Lending podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. You'll find links to any resources mentioned in the show notes. If you're enjoying our show, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.